Hi, and welcome to our final session. So, today we are doing exam strategy. And yeah, very exciting. We've done, this will be the 18th session now. We've gone through almost all of the topics, I think, and now the final one, how to tackle the exams. So, in this session, I am hoping to give you all of the tips that I can think of as an IB teacher, tutor, and examiner. So this is what we'll be going through. And if you don't know me yet, I am Ashley from Miss IB Maths, working in collaboration with Exam Dojo for these bootcamp sessions. So yeah, we've gone through quite a bit. I know there's a few of you who've been following for a while. Well done for your commitment to maths. Hopefully your exams have been going well. You're almost there. We have maths coming up soon on Thursday, Thursday and Friday. So last things that I want to just kind of package together in one session. So we'll be looking at the exam setup for AI and AA, some studying tips. Econ HL tomorrow. Then even more so, well done for being here and for putting that effort in, even though you have another exam tomorrow. Hope that goes really well. Good luck for that. You're so close to the finish line. So yeah, we'll be looking at some studying tips, formulas that are not in the formula booklet. This is super important. There's a couple of things that pop up that are just not covered in the formula booklet that you need to memorize, you need to know, you need to remind yourself of, depending on your course. Some time management strategies that I recommend, using command terms correctly, calculators, of course, some tips for before, during, and after your exam, and then finally, common reasons that students lose marks. At any point, if you have any questions, feel free to answer them, feel free to ask them, and I will leave some space at the end as well for a Q&A. So let's begin. All right. I'm pretty sure you may know this by now, but hopefully, if not, I can provide some clarity before you're going into your exam. So if you're in standard level, you will have two papers. So whether you're in AA or AI, it's the same. You'll have your two papers. Obviously, the only difference with AA is that there is no technology, as in no calculator in your first AA exam. No calculator. So that means that the second paper is going to be quite heavily calculator based. So most of the things you're going to be doing are going to require a calculator. And this doesn't mean that paper one is going to be really difficult because you can't use your calculator. It's actually going to have a lot more simple solutions and answers that you should know how to do in your head. So if anything is looking too complex in a paper one with no calculator, then it's a good idea to think, is there another way I can do this? There's those special angles and things that you need to know for trigonometry, like sine of 30, cos of 30, those kind of things. Those come up a lot in the no calculator because you are expected to know those. And we'll go through that a bit. Paper two, calculator allowed. So obviously you need to be using that calculator well. For AI, you can use a calculator in both of them. So the difference between paper one and paper two is short response questions in paper one and extended in paper two. So your paper one is going to be those like more like 5 to 8 mark questions, whereas paper two will be the more extended response. You're going to have like A, B, C, D, E to answer. And in paper two and paper one of AA, it's going to be section A is short and section B is extended. And then same for paper two, you have short and extended. So they're set up in a similar way. The only difference is calculator, no calculator, and calculator. We have 80 marks each for your SL papers, and they each count 40% of your grade, because already you have 20% counting towards your IA. For HL, a little bit different. They have the paper 3 as well. And it's before being 60 minutes, but now they've changed it. It's now an hour 15 that you have for your paper 3, an hour 15. So that extra 50 minutes is pretty good because it was quite a short paper. And yours are going to be 30, 30, and 20 for your paper 3. So a bit more spread out there. And then it's the same for AA. You're also going to have short and extended in paper 1, but no calculator. And then calculator allowed here. And same for AI, sorry, not AI. I'm thinking AISL. Here you have your calculator, and here you have your calculator. And also in paper 3, you have your calculator and calculator. So all calculator here, and then for AA high level, only paper 2 and paper 3. And you'll have the same here with short in paper 1 and extended in paper 2. And then in paper 3 of AI, you have 2 long questions. And in all your maths papers, you have to do every single question. Then in HL, it's the same, short and extended, and then 2 long questions. So really for your paper 3s, if you're doing HL of any of these courses, I really recommend that you allow 30 minutes for each part. So question 1, give it 30 minutes. This is for paper 3 for both. For question 2, 30 minutes. And then you have 15 minutes afterwards to give to either one of them and to check through your working. So try and set it up like that when you're going through it, just so you don't spend all of your time on paper 1. It's way better to do. I would recommend, if you're in HL, that you start with doing the first few questions, like A, B, C of each, A, B, C of each. You do that first, and then you go back and answer the longer questions, because the beginning questions tend to be easier, and then they get more depth into them as you go. So start with the easy ones of both. Really just get those marks. It's usually formulas and setting up equations and things like that. So do those first of each one, and then go and do the harder questions. That's my recommendation for paper 3. All right, hopefully it's not too late for this, especially if you have other exams coming up, then you're obviously focusing on those more. But I really recommend starting with topic maths. So I have like this one over here. This is on my website, Miss IB Maths. You can download it, print it if you want, and then, or even just write it on a piece of paper, where you have the topic, the definition, the formulas, examples, and then some example solutions. So that just helps to have it in your mind already, like everything that you need to know for that topic. So you don't have to go through textbooks or go through your notes to try and find things. You just have to think, okay, I want to review trigonometry. And so everything should be on there, and you just pull it up and there you go, especially when you're doing past paper questions. So once you have those topic notes or topic maths, then go into your past paper questions, as many as you can, because they have so many different ways of asking. If you've been on these sessions, you've seen quite a few past papers, so that's already good. You can also go back and watch these sessions, pick a session that you thought, I didn't quite get that, maybe I should go and watch it again. Focus on the things that you don't feel good about. Don't focus on the things that you feel good about, because often that's like your safe space. But try the things that you're not sure about. Watch YouTube videos. Send me a message if you want some help on something. Do past paper questions on that topic. Just really focus on that topic. And the more you practice, the better it will become. And don't ignore the mark scheme as well. This is quite important in just seeing how they mark and how they give marks. So I've talked quite a lot about this in the previous sessions, where you have so many just attempts to do something. So just make sure that you are attempting all questions, but we'll get more to that later. All right, so I mentioned that there were formulas not in the formula booklet. So there's quite a few of them that you may have forgotten or just need like a brief reminder of, or some ones that you really specifically need to memorize. So there are things like outliers, things like special angles. I have made a resource of this as I've been going through these sessions. I've been creating it. I think it's my best resource yet. It is free, so don't worry about that. On my website, or if on Instagram you DM me, I can send you the link for that resource. And it looks like this. So there we go. So you have for each section, for each course, which course it is. So things like absolute value, what that means, because that's in the formula booklet. But did you know that it means that that's when r is between -1 and 1? So obviously that can sometimes be harder to understand than that. Exponent laws, things like discriminants, changing from reciprocal to rational functions, equations of horizontal lines. I think these are the most important here, the special triangles, so that you remember like sine of 30, sine of 45, sine of 60, and you can use these triangles to help you with that. So those are really good to memorize, often forgotten. How to convert from radians to degrees. That's not for AISL. Different things about the trigonometric function. So how to calculate the period, how to calculate amplitude or principal axis. These things are all not in there. Outliers, the binomial distribution formula, some important things for hypothesis testing. That's only in AI. All of these things that are not in the formula booklet. So that is a resource that I have on my website if you would like it. I've just put it all into one space, but maybe you have something like that already. It's just a good idea to go and take that, print it out, and then have it through just before your exam, before you walk in, like maybe an hour before, because you don't want to do anything like too close and get super stressed. So try keep the 30 minutes before your exam to be really just breathing, you know, not thinking too much like, oh, I haven't learned that, I haven't learned that. At this point, it's too late. It's better if you go in with a good mindset and feeling calm. So aim to look at these maybe like an hour before your exam. So for time management, a lot of people struggle with timing their exams. So for every single course, whether you're AA, AI, standard level, high level, they're all roughly 1 mark per minute. So if you have an exam question that's like 4 marks, I would aim to spend 4 minutes on that. Well, let me go through this first. So I recommend when you start, they give you reading time. So first, read through the whole exam paper. I know a lot of students just casually look through, but I mean actually read it. You have 5 minutes to read through and get an understanding of exactly what's in the paper and what's to come. And a lot of people get stressed out by this, but I think it's really a good idea to know what's coming up. And that gives your brain a little bit of calm. So in the first 5 minutes, you can't write anything. So make sure you don't write anything, otherwise you'll get in trouble. But just read through it. Then when you're allowed to write, just start with going through each question, having a look at them and seeing, is that one an easy one? Do I know how to do that one? If so, mark it with a star. And then when you begin, just start with your starred ones. So at least you're starting with a bit of confidence. You're putting your time to the things that you think are going to be the easier questions to do. Instead of starting with a long one where you get stuck on it, you get really into it. And when you're into those questions that you're stuck on, you really want to get them. And then you don't even notice the time passing. So I would recommend leaving those ones till later. So start with the easier ones. You've got those in the bag, and then you go on to your harder ones. You do not have to go through the paper in order. Aim to spend 1 less minute per mark allocation, so you have time at the end. So like I said, it's a mark a minute, but if it's for 4 marks, maybe spend 3 minutes on it. I don't know if I'm blocking out the screen. Let me zoom out a little bit. So aim to spend 3 minutes on that question. So then you have a minute left over, which at the end you'll have like a good 10 minutes left over or something like that, so that you can go back and do the checklist that I will show you later. Yeah, don't be afraid to skip questions and come back. Don't feel like you have to start the question and finish the question. You're not necessarily going to forget where you were. And sometimes when you come back with a renewed perspective, it can sometimes help you to catch something that you didn't before. Then command terms. So these are quite important. If it says draw the graph, that means you need to make it super accurate. So we're looking for labeled, accurate, using a pencil if you can, using a ruler. really making this like the most beautiful graph you've ever drawn. It should be to scale. All your points should be accurate. They should be correctly plotted, joined with a straight line or a smooth curve. If it says draw, you really need to make sure this is your best effort. However, if it says sketch, that really means more of a, like, if I was going to draw a quadratic, I could do a sketch like this. I could go, oops, kind of there. I don't really need to make my exact points. I could say my intercepts over there are like 2 and -3, things like that. That's fine for a sketch. But for a drawing, it really needs to be like you use your ruler, you put your best effort into that, like have it beautifully done. Put your lines through, put your arrows on the end, mark off your coordinates, your intercepts, put them as coordinates, like, no, get them accurate, 0, 2, for example. Label your Y's and your X's. Draw should be perfect. Sketch can take you just to do it quickly. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you should always show your intercepts with the graph and any key points like asymptotes and things. So that's those command terms. Then 2 other ones that come up a lot are hence and hence or otherwise. When they say hence, that means use the answer that you had before. Whatever you had in the question before, that would have been like a question A, and this would be a question B. Use the answer that you got. They are telling you that there is a clue in your A answer that you need to use in your B answer. So this question, for example, we had hence solve this equation. Well, the previous part was another way of writing this that was way easier to solve. So you had figured out in this question, in question A, a way simplified version of this. So you need to take that answer and set it equal to 4 and then solve the equation. So keep in mind that. But if they say hence or otherwise, that means you can either use what you got in the previous question or you can use another method. So if you think of something better or you can't really see what they've used there that you need to use, you can use any other method and that's fine. But if in a hence question you use another method, then you don't get the marks for that. So you need to use what you have. But of course, if you're not sure what they mean, try what you think anyway. Maybe it's the right thing, maybe it's the wrong thing. You can still try and get marks through that. But just a key difference there. So here they say hence or otherwise solve the equation. So there would have been something here that you got in the previous answer to help you, or maybe there's another method you could use, and that would be fine. Then the other command term, show that. If they say show that, that means that you can't use the given information. So see here, they've said, show that log such and such is equal to, put in this log such and such. Now, I can't move these things across the equal signs. I can't rearrange. I can't treat it like an equation. I also can't assume that they're equal. So I have to pick one of them. I either pick this side or I pick this side and I work on one of them to make them look like the other. It's often that you work on this side to make it look like that side, but it's not wrong if you take that side and make it look like that side. So you almost have to pretend that they haven't given you the other side of the equation. You keep working on one side, you keep doing your log laws until you end up with something that looks like that. So that's a show that question. If you use that they are true, you cannot get marks for that. Same with prove. Prove that something equals something. You cannot use both sides. You can only work on one side and make it look like the other side. Otherwise, you're assuming that they are equal. All right, calculators. The amount of students I see who arrive with a non-charged calculator, don't be that person. Charge it the night before your exam because they do not charge like your phone does. Your phone charges fast. Your phone can charge in maybe 2 hours. These calculators, depending on what you have, some don't need to be charged. Some don't need to be charged very often. But a lot of them they charge so slowly. So you need to make sure it's charged before your exam, especially if you're doing paper 1 and paper 2 on the same day, which I think you are. I think it's paper 1 and paper 2 and then paper 3 the next day, but don't quote me on that. But if you're doing 2 papers in one day or another subject also in that day, you need it to last the whole time because you can't charge your calculators in between. I know most schools and places keep it because it's in press to test mode. If you have that, they keep your calculators, or you won't have time to charge them because there's not much time in between the exams. Just make sure you've charged it the night before and keep it charging until you leave for your exam. But don't forget it. Set an alarm on your phone. That is like the last minute before you leave for your exam. Set an alarm that is check for calculator. Do that now. You can set an alarm for Thursday. You can set an alarm for Friday. Just the last thing you want to do is forget your calculator. You just don't need that stress on the day. And if not already, be best friends with your calculator. The more you know it, the easier time you're going to have in your exam. Then during the exam, if you're in AI, use it wherever possible. Don't think that doing an algebraic approach is better than a graphical approach. If you know that you can use your calculator to answer it, use your calculator, because the IB, they set this up in a way that they know what questions can use a calculator and what can't. So if there's a possibility that you can use it, you should use it. It's going to save you time and it's going to save you accuracy. In AA, use it as much as you can in paper 2 and paper 3. It is meant to be for a calculator. That's why it's a calculator paper. So using your calculator is a skill that they're testing in the exam. So it must be used. Indeed, there are questions that you do need to do an algebraic approach. Take a look at the number of marks allocated. So if it's like, say, a 4-mark question, and you can just type something in on your calculator and put the answer, there's obviously more that you need to show. So if it's like a 1-mark or a 2-mark question, then it's fine to just go and type it on, graph it, copy the graph, copy the answer, fine. But 4 marks, 5 marks, those kind of things, you need to be showing much more of your working, of your thinking. Like if I had the question to solve for the roots, like find the solutions of a quadratic, then a good idea, let me actually do it. Let's say like solve x squared plus 7x minus, I don't know, 52 equals 0. Or no, solve this is not a great question, but solve for the x-intercepts. So of course, what you could do is just type that graph on your calculator and you just get the x-intercepts. You could read them off the graph. But if your question says that it's like maybe 3 marks or 4 marks, then what you should do is you should include a sketch of your graph, so like that, and you should indicate your intercepts. Then you should obviously write your intercepts. And then you could show that that's equal to 0. So writing that is equal to 0 shows that you know that your intercepts come when the graph is equal to 0. So that would be a good way to show how you use your calculator. But you do not need to say, I used my GDC, my graphic display calculator. That is not going to get you any marks. That doesn't tell them anything. They know that you use your GDC. They assume that you use your GDC. That's a waste of a step. So show in a mathematical way that you used it if it's for a certain amount of marks. All right. Another thing is to store your unrounded answers on the GDC. If you are in a question that you have to keep working with the answers, you should store them. Not use 3 significant figures in your working. 3 significant figures is only for the end of a question. So if I have my linear regression line, like y equals 0.304 x plus 25.1, something like that. In this case, that was your final answer, and then you're going to use that equation. But if you got like sine of A is, so that one was fine. Sine of A is 0.5238897, blah, 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 blah. You would, in that answer, let's say that's A, you'd round that to three significant figures, 0.524. So that's fine. But then in question B, if you have to use sine A again, you need to use the whole thing. The 0.5238897 times whatever you have to do. You need to use the whole thing. So the rounding is just for ending the question, but when you're using that, you need to take the full value. When you're going through your questions, this is good for when you're reading through the paper and having a look at what's there, to highlight whether it's in degrees or radians, just so that really sticks out to you, because it can be so easy to forget to switch from degrees to radians. Yeah, this one I talked about already in calculated questions. Write your thinking or any steps on the paper. I already talked about this a bit, but if the question is worth many marks, calculator answer only is not sufficient. Draw a sketch or show working. So even this one here, we have determine the minimum value of S. So that would have been a minimum value being on a graph, like a minimum value at the minimum there. So drawing a graph, because they say attempt to find the minimum. You get a method mark for attempting to find the minimum. So a sketch, maybe showing the full unrounded values. Sorry. And then finally, your answer marks for the three significant figures. But there was a whole mark in here that was for your method mark, not just reading that off the calculator. I hope that's making sense. Okay, before the exam, triple check you've packed your calculator. Can't stress that enough. Again, make a note on your door, a note on your mirror, an alarm on your phone for the last moment to make sure it's in there. Then bring a written or printed page of formulas you have to memorize. So either the one that I've created or your own one, so you can read over them right before you walk into your exam or a little bit before. Bring a highlighter into the exam. This is so important because so much is going on in the exam. You're maybe in a bit of a stress mode, so sometimes you forget things. If you bring a highlighter, it really saves you thinking time. So you can focus on other things and not remembering what's in the question. So you can highlight whether it's degrees or radians. You can highlight whether there's a restricted domain. You can highlight whether there's a certain way you need to leave a question. Just things that could be easily forgotten when you're in the midst of a question, and then you finish it and you forget that it should be in a certain way. So highlight. Then, if you are English as an additional language, if you are not a first language English speaker, please make use of the dictionary. So you're allowed a dictionary, not with definitions, but just with English to your language. So like English to Russian or English to Japanese. Especially in AI, the questions are really wordy. Like they are using interesting words and not maths words. I mean, words like talking about like the building of a house or the building of a church or a dam in some country. And sometimes those words are not always super obvious to understanding. So you are allowed in a maths exam to have a dictionary that translates into your home language. That is something that your teachers have been made aware of, the people your DP coordinator has been made aware of. You are entitled to that. So I would just double check that your school does have your language and that you request it beforehand and they give it to you in the exam. So it just is not nice if you can't understand a question because of the English. That's just unfortunate. And I've seen a lot of students not understanding the exam questions because of certain vocabulary. And you don't want that to be a reason that you can't do a question. So you're allowed that. A lot of students don't actually know that you're allowed that. Okay, during your exam, leave your answers exact or rounded to 3 significant figures unless stated otherwise. So this is what it says on the front page of your paper. So leaving your answers exact is usually what happens in a paper 2, in a paper 1. So when you don't have your calculator, you might get the answer of like 2 root 3. That's exact. That's what they mean by exact, or pi over 6. These are all like exact answers, meaning you can do them without the use of the calculator. And then if you put these on a calculator, you would get like, I don't know, 3.555. And then that would be a rounded answer that then you would need 3 significant figures. So if there's no rounding to be done, don't round it to 3 significant figures. If I get an answer of 23, I don't need to write 23.0. I just write 23. Whereas if I got an answer of 23.000561, then I would need to write 23.0 because there I have rounded. But in this one, I didn't round. That was just the answer of 23. So sorry, that has nothing to do with that question. So that's the difference. That's an exact answer. This is a rounded answer. And that needs to be to 3 significant figures. When finished with an answer, reread the question to make sure you've answered fully. So there are often these little things at the end, like t of 0 and k are positive constants. So, and t is more than or equal to 0. So these are the things I want you to be highlighting. Because if you get an answer of, let's say, I'm doing my question, I get t equals -5 or t equals 7. Very common with a quadratic. Well, you need to see here that t is more than or equal to 0. So that's not actually a solution. And if you write both of those solutions, you won't get full marks. So again, highlight those things so that you remember at the end of the question to go back and check. Did I make sure that I've taken all of these into account? And see this question over here. Find the exact value of cos theta, giving your answer in this form. So the answer that you get when you do this question doesn't come up in that form. You have to change it. And P and Q need to be positive integers. This is something else that I should actually put on the formulas, not the formula booklet, just things to note, is these sets of numbers. So that means positive integers, where there's a little positive integers. You also have R for real numbers. Most questions will be like that. But this is a very specific way. And see, there's 6 marks. So I think there were 2 marks for this question just to leave it in the right form. So that's really important. And if you've done all of the work, you might as well make sure it's in the right form to get those extra marks. Do not cross out any answers. The amount of times as an IB examiner that I have seen students cross out their answer, not write anything new, leave it, and I always look through the answers because I'm always curious, and I look through their crossed out working, and I was thinking, I see 2 or 3 marks in that, what they've crossed out, but I can't give them marks, I can't touch it. If it's been crossed out, we are instructed to leave it. So unless you're going to be putting something else in its place, do not cross things out. Cross it out only when you have written something else that you are confident is going to be better. Also, on that note, don't write 2 things. If you write 2 solutions next to each other because you're not sure which one is right, they're going to either take the top solution or the left solution. So don't think that if you put 2 different solutions, you'll get marks for whichever one is right. They'll mark the first or the one on the left if you have to. So make sure whichever one you want, it's really clear that that's the one you want them to mark. And please do not cross answers out unless you're going to write something new. And most of the time when things are crossed out and students write something new, the previous thing was correct, because you might start to doubt yourself when you're going back over your questions. And often that's more just self-doubt. That's not actually It's not always, it's hard to say. Let me not say that it's not always better, but it's often that the crossed out thing had more marks or was correct. So the main message here is don't doubt yourself, trust yourself. Show working always. If you're not sure if you have to show working, just show working. There are so many marks in the exam paper just for working, just for attempts, just for recognition of something. So no matter how many marks, show you're working. A common one that I see is interquartile range. And students don't write quartile 3 minus quartile 1, that step. They just write the answer. So they'll write like interquartile range is 5. But no, you have to always write, I don't know, 15 minus 10. Your quartile 3 minus your quartile 1 equals 5. Even though that's such an obvious calculation, it's so quick, that is just 2 marks that you should not miss out on. So write the working, write the answer. Always show your working. Don't do things too much in your head. Don't leave anything blank. At least attempt by writing a formula or attempting a substitution. So see here on this mark scheme, look at that. This is beautiful. This is everywhere. Attempt to substitute into cosine rule. Not even correctly substitutes into cosine rule, not even finishes the answer, not even does any working after that, just attempt to substitute into the rule. And that's 1 whole mark. So please attempt. Then again, here you see attempt to use something else, right? So there's all your answer marks, but these method marks are really important. So even if you didn't know how to answer the question, but you recognized it's trigonometry, take the cosine rule. If you see a triangle, either use the cosine rule or the sine rule if you're not sure what to do. Just try it. If it's not right angled, write the formula of the cosine rule and grab yourself a mark. If you don't know how to do it, substitute random values. You will get marks for this. So please don't leave anything blank. Whatever, if you can identify what topic you're on, open the formula booklets, have a look at what formulas you have. I'm sure you can decide on something that is relevant to the question, write it down, substitute your formulas, and at least have that, even if you're not sure what to do with the question. Always have the formula booklet open on the page of the topic you're doing. It just really helps to kind of give you some ideas of what you might need to use, of things you might have forgotten. And please copy the formulas across correctly, like double check, because that can happen a lot. And write your formula at the top of each question before you even use it. Don't immediately jump into using it. Write your formula at the top and then substitute your values in the next line. So if you have, I don't know, volume equals pi r squared h, you write that formula, then you substitute your values of r and your values of h. And then you do your working, because you get marks for that. Also here, I can directly see that I'm using it correctly. It's going to help you a lot. I also recommend you work downwards, like your equals down, instead of across. If you're working across, the examiners sometimes struggle to see what you are doing. It can get squashed. It can get maybe not correct for you as well. You can see downwards that you're substituting correctly and you're not forgetting anything in the formula or writing things incorrectly. So see how the mark scheme works down. You should work down too. I always say to my students, don't have more than 1 equal sign per line, maybe 2, but not more than 1 equal sign per line. It really helps. Okay, at the end of the exam, hopefully you've saved at least 5 minutes to check your work. This really is a mark saver. I know a lot of students will just be like, I've been through the exam, I've put it all out, I'm done, I'm just going to hand it in. If you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes even at the end of the exam, please go through and check. And I don't mean check your work. Checking your work is sometimes quite hard to see where you might have forgotten something. I mean check the question. Read through the question, check what you've highlighted, check, so these are all the things that I recommend you check. Check the final units. Like if the question was in meters and they asked for it in kilometers, make sure that you've given it in the correct units. If it's a time question, make sure that you don't have negative answers. No negative answers. There'll be domain and range restrictions. The IB loves this. They'll say remember that one where t is more than or equal to 0. So you need to make sure that you don't have any solutions that are less than 0. So check that on the question and on the graphs as well that you've drawn. Sometimes they will say, draw the graph between -5 and 5, right? And so if you've drawn your graph and it goes like, let's say that's -5 and that's 5, and the question has said that, your graph needs to be between -5, even when you're copying it across and you've gone and done a graph outside of that, that's going to be wrong. They're going to say, oh, they didn't notice that there was a restricted domain. So your graph should only be between -5 and 5. So these parts should not be on it if they've restricted the domain. That would be wrong. So yeah, double check that again, highlight it, please. Make sure you answer the question fully. Sometimes there's like an explain or does this make sense? Or just a next question, or leave your answer like this. Make sure you read it. So every time you finish a question, you think, okay, I've written, I don't know, x equals 5, underlined, great, next question. Stop when you finish the question. Go back to when you finish your answer, go back to the question, read through it and say, did I answer everything they've asked of me? You can do that after every question, and then you can do it again at the end of the exam if you have time. Make sure that all of your answers are to 3 significant figures if you rounded, or otherwise, because sometimes they will also say, leave your answer to 1 decimal place or 2 decimal places. Oop, leave your answer to 1 decimal place, which is different from this 3 significant figures. So a specific question may state that. And then you ignore 3 significant figures and you do 1 decimal place. So they're always checking in the question. Are you reading it carefully? Make sure you've attempted all questions. Check both sides of the paper. At the beginning of the paper, it says how many questions are in the paper. So make sure that you have indeed seen all of the questions. So if it says 11 questions, go and have a look. Can you count 11 questions? Because sometimes people might only see 10 of them and not even attempt the last question. For easy marks, make sure you have your labels on graphs and things. Make sure you've labeled your coordinates, your asymptotes, anything like that. Check for angles and degrees or radians. Ask yourself, do my answers actually make sense in this question? Do I have a negative distance? Do I have negative time? Those things should not be. That doesn't make sense. So I need to double check my answers. Avoid second guessing yourself and writing something else. Mostly doesn't work in your favor, unless you're really sure. And again, as I've said, make sure if you've crossed out working, you've written something else. All right. Then in general, I just put together some common reasons. It's kind of a summary of everything I've said now. So common reasons that students lose marks. So not showing enough working, rounding too early, not answering the actual question or not giving it in the form requested. Often a big one of these is, give it as an equation. This one is so common. So if they've said, give the equation of the vertical asymptote, you can't just write, let me actually make an example. So let's say we have this question, there we go. And that is the line y equals 2. So they've said, give the equation of the horizontal asymptote. If you write 2, no marks. You have to write y equals 2 because they said an equation. That's an equation. Just 2 on its own is not an equation. Or a coordinate. watch out for this one. You might find that x is 5, but they want to know the entire coordinates. They want to know the whole thing. X is 5, and what is y? So the whole thing, not just an x. Look out for that. Or a percentage. So you've calculated a decimal, but you need to convert it to a percentage. Things like that. Then calculator misuse, so degrees instead of radians, not using brackets correctly, using the wrong window on a graph. So if they've said that the graph needs to be from -5 to 6 and from -10 on the y to 10, make sure when you are graphing it on your calculator, let's say this is your graph window, make sure that you tell your calculator my graph needs to end at -5 and it needs to go until 6. That's going to be in window settings. In window settings, you can change it so you're copying across the right thing. That was -10 and that must be 10. So then whatever graph ends up showing there, I don't know, let's make it this one. You can copy that graph exactly onto your paper. Because if you have one that's going outside of this, it's sometimes hard to tell. Make sure your endpoints are quite exact. Algebra errors, so sign errors, this kind of can't be helped. Yeah, don't worry so much about sign errors. It happens. It happens whether you have a master in mathematics, whether you're a maths teacher, whether you're the top math student in your school. Sign errors happen to all of us. It's like when you're writing an English essay and you forget to write the word the. It's the same with maths. You can so easily get a sign error. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't make you bad at maths. It's just normal and it's going to happen. Don't worry about it. Mistakes with fractions, cancelling terms incorrectly. I would say these are the ones that hopefully your algebra is okay at this point in maths, but these things just do tend to happen. Poor notation. Make sure when you are writing answers that you are using like f of x equals such and such. You're using y equals. You're using the second derivative notation correctly. Just these little things help to make it really clear to the examiner what you're doing. And the clearer your answers are to the examiner, the better it is for you. All right, because they're just human as well. They're reading through. If you've made it clear to them, that's so much better for you. Don't ignore the command words. If you see hence, interpret, sketch, prove, remember all of the things that I've said in the previous slides. Leaving questions blank. Like I said, even unfinished method, a formula, a diagram, substitution, equation can give you marks, but blank space earns nothing. Don't leave any questions blank, please. And then not checking reasonableness. I've said that quite a bit. Negative lengths, probabilities that are greater than 1, angles in a triangle that are outside 180 degrees. These kind of things would surprise you how much they lose marks for, because every IB question loves to have that little one thing that you just need to make sure you've checked and read. That will get you cumulatively more marks. Right. Then weak graph presentation. I spoke about that at the beginning. So not showing asymptotes, unclear intercepts, poor scales. Remember the difference between sketch a graph and graph a graph. Graph a graph, draw a graph. Yeah, and then I've talked about the rest of these quite a lot. So in section B questions, they are longer questions. Or in any extended response question, A, B, C, D. If you make a mistake in A, it's going to affect the rest of them. Often, and almost always, they will then continue to mark your answer. So if you get the answer of 5 in A and you continue using 5 throughout for the rest of your answers, they will still give you the marks for the method if you're doing it correctly. So it's not the end of the world if you have a mistake in A and you continue with that. But just for your own sake, usually the questions might work out differently, cancel easier, simplify easier because of that answer in A. So if you're getting to something super complicated, maybe you've messed up something somewhere. So just make sure that you're really, really careful on those longer questions, and make sure that your working is structured super clearly. And yeah, time management, just make sure that you're really conscious of the time. You'll have a big clock that should be really visible. You can even write at the top of a question, like if it says question 1, and that's 4 marks, just right at the top. For this one, I have 3 minutes. So when I need to be finished when it's 12:06, even just doing that for yourself so you can keep an eye on it. So you don't have to think about how much time you've spent on it or forget about how much time, but you can be like, okay, I'm going to do question 1 and I'm going to look up at the time. And when I see 12:06, I need to move on, right? That can help to keep you on track. And finally, good luck. So all of this hopefully has helped and made you feel a bit better about the exam and not more stressed. Just keep studying. I know you have other exams coming up as well, so any kind of hour that you can spend is good. Don't get some sleep the night before. Don't cram and try and get everything studied the night before. Make sure you get some good sleep because your emotional state is just as important as how much content you've got. So if you have less sleep, if you haven't slept well, that's going to make you more stressed, which is going to make you think less clearly. And I know I'm probably like the 1,000th person to tell you this, but it's true. Trust us. So yeah, good luck for it. Just think clearly, deep breaths. And maybe the most important thing that I could say to you is that your IB marks do not define you. So take that with you, please. Thank you so much for joining these sessions. If you've been through on many of them, there's some names that I start to recognize, and I very much appreciate your comments. And oh no, you're not cooked. It's going to be fine. What are you stressed about? Is there anything I can help with? What are you most stressed about in this exam? Maybe it's just because you have Econ HL coming up tomorrow, but there's still time. There's still time. Yeah. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Anything that you are not sure about, any topics, anything I can point you to. Yeah, there is not a lot of time. It's a lot for sure. You have all of these exams coming up in the space of a few days, but you'll be okay. You will be okay. You will get through this, and it does. Your marks do not define you. Just do what you can. Breathe, do what you can. That's the best you can do. And let me know how your maths goes. I'd love to hear it. If anything came up, and just pop me a message of how they went. I'd love to hear that. Any questions? Anything at all? I'll wait a couple seconds. Again, message me on Miss IB Maths if you have any questions. It's at Miss IB Maths on Instagram. You can DM me with your email address for any of these session notes that we've done and past paper exam questions. For if you want those, that formula sheet of formulas that are not in the formula book, formulas not in the formula booklet. It's free, so just a PDF download if you want that, or any questions that you have. You are welcome. A topic that you should revise more or that comes a lot in AISL? I would say they're quite evenly spread, but What I have seen often is Pearson's scatter plots, regression lines, and what's called Spearman's rank coefficient. They love to throw Spearman's rank coefficient in there. Hypothesis testing, for sure, there will be hypothesis testing. They're quite big on trigonometry in like cosine rule, sine rule, area of a triangle rule. What else comes up often? Financial interest, sequences, series. There's often a little bit of calculus, so some basic sort of integrals. Those will mostly come, or sort of only come up in paper. No, that's not true. Yeah, basic calculus questions, integration. The what do you call it? Trapezoidal rule, I think it's called, where you have to find the area under the curve for AISL with where they divide it into sections. And there's, I think it's called the trapezoidal rule. That one can come up and be worth quite a few marks. And it's quite easy because it's just a formula you have to fill in. But a lot of people forget to look at that one again. So the formula is in the formula booklet. And it's easy to follow. If you're not sure how to do that, just go and watch a YouTube video on it. Just search trapezoidal rule, AISL. And then once you know how to do that, that's like an easy 4 marks. But yeah, I would definitely do hypothesis testing. I've done a video on that. Oh yeah, you were there. And yeah, trigonometry, geometry. Yeah, a lot of statistics and probability. You have got this. I believe in you. You've got this. And you're almost there. All right, then all the best and luck with everything that you have in your exams. Good luck with econ and good luck in your futures. Bye.